You're dealing with snow, you're dealing with the cold, you're dealing with blizzards. Forget about all that because Sportswire Radio has you covered as we continue coverage here throughout the month from our very good friends in CCW as they get ready for Fight or Strike 3 in less than 2 weeks from now. But we also look back a little bit with an old friend who hasn't been on Sportswire Radio in over a year. What a week it'll be on Sportswire Radio. As 2 of the next 3 days, we're going to have guests on from our very good friends in CCW who haven't been on the show in over a year. One's on one side tonight, the other, well, stay tuned a little bit more about him. But in the meantime, our old friend has done a phenomenal job, most recently of late as the general manager of Coming Out Championship Wrestling, as they had an historic event last weekend. We're going to talk about all of it and some. Our guest has done it all when it comes to CCW. You've seen him in the ring doing some ring introductions. You've seen him all throughout these shows. And he has been one of the reasons why CCW has been the place to be throughout these past several years. Our guest needs no further introduction, but because the last time he was on here, the introductions are totally different. It's time to give him that introduction that so many, not only in CCW, have gotten, but all throughout the 5-year history on Sportswire Radio have gotten most last appearance. So with that, wait for it. Further ado, here on the Sports Report, number one, global sports show, the general manager from Coming Out Championship Wrestling. His name is Taylor Troops. My friend, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I thought my voice was gonna pop there. Actually, I will not lie.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm fully experienced with that. Absolutely. And listen, it's been a long time coming. Been away a while. A lot's happened since the last time we spoke. I hope you're all doing well over there.
I'm doing great. I'm definitely doing great. We actually got our first snow in New York City, our first, kind of substantial show in almost 2 years. We got our first snow in God knows how long. People forgot about how to react from snow. It's almost like we were in Florida. But obviously, I know we have a lot to talk about, and thank you for all that you've done here, giving us the opportunity here on Sportswire. Because I know a lot to talk about in the current tense in CCW, but I do want to at least take a slight detour, especially for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio, Alive with Pride. What a successful show. You, of course, were a huge part of that, and I have to get right to the bottom of it. Talk about what it meant to you last weekend to have such an successful event that you ran, CCW's Coming Out Championship Wrestling, Alive with Pride.
It was just phenomenal. I mean, it flew over between being told and asked. I was the wanted to do it back in June last year. It was here before you knew it. A lot of nights of worry, I mean, not even on the day we had a few slides off, if you like, to try and recalculate what we're going to do. But what an event! And to be honest, it went over so fast. I can't remember much. I've watched the footage back now because the whole thing was just a blur. But it's more than wrestling. And I think a lot with CCW, it's more than wrestling. So it's about raising awareness, education, bringing people together. It's about all those things. And the fact that Alive with Pride, was such a success, it only leads us onto the onward path of more future, more impressive shows.
Well, we're going to certainly get to some of the things in the show, but I want to talk about, and obviously this is something we've been following on Sportswire Radio for a long time that you've been putting together. And certainly if you want, please join and support the group here ACW Coming Out Championship Wrestling. Definitely join the movement because Coming Out Championship Wrestling is going to go to bigger and better places here. But obviously, this is what CCW to me, and I'm glad you said this, has always been so good at over the years. This is why I've always supported CCW, because CCW to me, yes, we always talk about now all wrestling matters, but CCW to me has been so much more than wrestling. Whether it's been raising awareness for cancer, whether it's raising awareness for people in the coloring community, whether it's obviously what you're doing now. I mean, talk about the importance of really what this event is doing generally for a community that gets to be able to show what it can offer in the ring.
Well, I mean, ultimately, the thing is, I mean, you look across the planet that we live on, and it's filled with a lot of magnificent individuals, and the LGBTQ plus community are still under a lot of, a lot of pressure from governments, in order to be who they want to be and live how they want to live. So this was an opportunity to showcase that message with wrestling. I mean, we also didn't just have wrestling; we had a drag battle, so we had some drag queens entertaining as well. It has something for everybody, and the future that the places this could go in the future there's nothing stopping it. I mean, underpinning the message of equality, and not just with the LGBTQ plus community, but everybody. Wrestling has a seat for everybody, and I think that's the main message here.
Well, listen, like we say it here, we've adopted this flag here on Sportswire Radio. Well, not your flag, but a flag in general. But all wrestling matters, and the fact that I think it doesn't matter where you're coming from, where you wrestle, what type of wrestling, whatever it might be, we support you on Sportswire. And I think that this is another example that obviously I want to get to a couple of different things on the card. Obviously, we saw some familiar faces, some new names, and everything else in between. But I was also curious in what did you learn from the experience of being on the other side of an event like this? Obviously, you're the general manager now, so you have to put this together. You have to find the talent. I mean, I've known you a while, and we spoke, in the past, when you had the podcast on Facebook, Taylor's Truths and everything else you've done when it comes to ring announcing. And I will get to that because certainly I was like, boy, I'm so glad I don't have your role on January 25th because I really felt like the last two shows I did, I was like, my voice is like going to crack here. And unfortunately, that's because I've done in the last 70 days, and somebody checked this for me. I think I've done like 81 or 82 shows. So you can only imagine. Wow. Yeah. And the people want to come on. But just tell me, though, for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire who may not know a lot about coming out championship wrestling or the role that you now have since the last time you came on the show, what did you learn from the experience in kind of running this?
So I think looking at it from I have management experience outside of the wrestling world. So I used to manage quite big teams, so I know what it takes to manage something. But I'd never managed something like this, and event planning. I've never planned an event as such, which is ultimately what it was. So for me to see it from going from ring announcing to being in ring to doing a bit of refereeing, and to be honest with you, like I don't want to blow my own smoke up my own backside here, but I've done a bit of everything. And I can only find.
I did kind of say you've done a lot. I mean, I've known you a while. I know you've done a number of different things. I've gotten a chance to watch the most recent CCW shows of late, so I've definitely seen that for sure.
So I've done a bit of everything. So it was about putting all of that experience under one cap and thinking, what do I need to do to achieve the show? So it needs to be organized. It needs to be planned well. And like I said, when I briefed the first show, when I briefed the roster, I said to them, at 6:15, my job is officially done, and it's now over to you. I have gave you this opportunity to go out there and treat this like your WrestleMania. Treat this like your opportunity to shine. My job was done, in my opinion. I mean, I did have some other things I had to do on the show, but it was all down to them. So, and also seeing the fans, we had some new fans in as well, which was also good. Fans who had never seen us before. And that's what it's all about, getting new people in the seats and new people enjoying what we do.
What was that experience? And I will get to some comments because I actually have a couple people that really want to say hello to you, including one of my regulars on Sportswire that actually wants to say something specific to you. And I mean, what did that make you feel? Because CCW, we're always we have all these sellouts. We always have this massive fan base, thousands of members in the Facebook groups. But what did that mean to you to have new fans come up to you? I mean, what was that like?
Yeah, it was good. I would go as far as saying the drive home was quite emotional because,
Why?
James has put a lot of trust in me to do this. And obviously we've never always seen eye to eye. We do have.
I think Mr. Barris, Bobblehead Barris, certainly not everybody in TCW sees eye to eye with him.
both on and off screen. You know, we've
Mhm.
we've had our moments, but he's got massive trust in what I'm able to do, and I think he's seen that. You know, whenever there's a problem, I tend to become the voice of reason, or sometimes the voice of authority, if you like, if that's the better word to use. So to see it unfold the way it did, it was just fun. I was proud of everybody. You know, I was proud of the ring crew. I was proud of the referees. Well, the referee. I was proud of the ring announcer. I was proud of everybody that took part, putting the ring up, putting the ring down. And people, these are the people that are often forgot about. You
Yeah,
know,
I
the,
agree 1,000% with you.
the,
The
the,
people
the
that
talent who get there
the
before the
people
show starts.
hours beforehand, by the way. People think, okay, bells, doors open at 6, match time at 7. No, 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 not if you're on the card, not if you're working backstage. You're probably there, I don't know, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, something like that, maybe. It's a fair, something around that
Yeah,
time. You're there hours
some of them
beforehand.
are there earlier, yeah, and those are the people that and to see all of that come together from a piece of paper and an idea that I had way back in June about how I wanted the show to look, what I wanted to take part, who I wanted to take part. I mean, we did gain some new faces, we lost a few as well. That happens. It's part of
Hey, it's
life
like
when
life. Listen, you
tapestries.
know what?
Absolutely.
Listen, at the end of the day, those are some things here. Let me do say hello to some people here because I'm going to lose track and we don't want to do that. Hello to my guest last week in your chair. I'm certainly sure I'm going to speak a lot about him in a little while. Mr. Jam Dog, of course. He is our Carnage Hardcore champion. He's pulling double duty on the 27th of January. Yes, good evening to you both. And certainly I'm happy to be here because I really felt like when I did that intro of you, I was really going to lose my voice. But thankfully, we're okay. We're good. I've been getting that the last couple shows. I'm really getting nervous about that, but that's here nor there. Hello, Ron. Ron also says, love the pride flag in the background. He loves seeing wrestling based off our community. So thank you, Ron. I appreciate you tuning in. I thank you for your support, and I thank you for obviously joining us. And if you want to join the group on Facebook, it's CCW Coming Out Championship Wrestling. Make sure you join them. Keep up to date with all the great things that Taylor and the talent and everything else is doing with that. I want to say hello to my buddy D'Angelo Flame, who I don't know if this guy ever sleeps. He's the Resurrection Wrestling Internet Champion. He was with me last night. I didn't get off the air till Eastern time in New York, 12:30, which would have been like 5:30 your time, but he's here nevertheless. And I want to say hello to D'Angelo. I'm definitely looking forward to watching him in the ring in a few weeks for his company, Resurrection Wrestling. I'm sure that you know this person. He's definitely the
Oh
tribal
yes.
chief who are acknowledging. You're going to definitely get to him. Definitely going to get to him. Obviously, by the way, he doesn't look like that anymore with the hair. He got blonder almost. Maybe he's adopting some of the flag color on his head.
Yeah. I think he's going cheesy, isn't he?
That's a good point. Well, I was trying to actually, in the spirit of coming out championship wrestling, kind of mention the color on the flag, but that works too. I'm not going to argue. Also, want to say hello to management here. Taylor is doing an amazing job as the general manager of coming out. Well, I was trying to say management. Obviously, we know it's the king of all media, Mr. DJB. DJB was here with us a few weeks ago. And we used our clip talking about you to announce you again. So I was glad to be a part of that. And I look forward to seeing DJB also coming up here on Sportswire. I'm so glad that he's a part of our family here in CCW. And also Taylor the Cheese. Hug awaits you next week, aka the cheese squeeze. Well, I guess
Yeah.
that's a new term on Sportswire. Maybe we'll let the tribal cheese. By the way, I guess if I'm okay to actually acknowledge it, I've got a few announcements. We're going to be acknowledging the tribal cheese next week, right before the 27th. The tribal cheese makes his long-awaited return to Sportswire Radio. We certainly see what the head of the table has to say, the head of the table, as many people will want to say. We definitely are going to be acknowledging him because the tribal cheese will be here coming up next Wednesday. I believe we're around 8 o'clock British Standard Time, and he's got a lot to say, a lot to get off his chest. So it's definitely going to be ain't easy being cheesy. You're going to definitely not miss that one. I believe we're going to be here next Wednesday and a slew of shows, by the way. We have next Tuesday, we have a guy that was called Necro Daddy. You might know him on Facebook as Chris Levitt. He's coming here in
Oh
your
yeah.
chair at the same time. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. He is going to pull no punches. He is going to speak the truth. He is going to say all things, whatever is on his mind. You are going to grab a front row seat and not miss this one. I'm excited about what this guy has to say. It is definitely going to be one for the ages, and also to be inducted into our Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. Give him a little bit of slack. Next Thursday, 8 o'clock British Standard Time. Mr. Bobblehead Barris, of course, James Barris, our owner of CCW, will take his place in history. So a slew of CCW shows. We've got 5 CCW shows ahead here on Sportswire Radio within the next 8 days. So definitely you will not miss all of that here. So obviously, okay, so let's talk about a couple different things here onto the event. A guy that I think definitely made his name heard a little bit more with Pride is a man I actually know. I've known him for a while, and that's Pride. Obviously, Pride wins your Pride of the Ring, and Pride's a guy I've seen in some other promotions. Pride is a guy that I've gotten to see quite a bit wrestle, but maybe this was his quote unquote coming out moment and maybe going on and becoming a bigger name on some of the bigger stages, and kind of talk about what Pride did in being able to win the Pride of the Ring here last weekend.
Well, I mean, Pride is just literally the perfect fit. If you were to look at something better, anything better to fit into our shows, it would be Pride. He brings everything, the absolute glamour, the glitz. We see him in action for the first time. I've seen him in action in other places, but we see him in
Yes.
action
And
for
we've
the
seen him
first
on
time.
BBC in the past, even once upon a
Absolutely.
time.
Look, it was terrific, and the fact that he won, it says it all, and it paves the way for future things. I've got loads and loads of plans to throw in front of Pride. Everything about his sort of his way of thinking. He also makes very nice mead as well, which he did share on the show night. I had a nice glass of mead after the show that he made. It was fantastic. So yeah, impeccable. Can't say anything other than the future is Pride.
Do you feel like an event like this? Now, again, like you said, I agree with you. I've seen Pride in some different promotions. He's definitely gotten some mainstream exposure, you might say, in the past with BBC. But do you feel like this can be a show where it would be a springboard for him, maybe to get a little bit more notice, or maybe a little bit more where we see him in, let's say, a better spot than he was previously? Is that a fair statement for me to make?
I mean, I think he's the type of talented wrestler you would see, make anywhere he touches, really, really good.
Because he's been
But
around a while. Like you said,
I
he's
mean, yeah,
certainly
he
trained,
traveled he traveled solo to a show he didn't know anybody, and he took part in an amazing event. And to me, hats off. That he's massively gained my respect. I already had respect for him before, but I think we do that a lot here, not just within coming out championship wrestling, but CCW as a whole. It does act as a bit of a leaf pad for other people to hop on and hop off, and that's what wrestling is all about. It's about getting yourself known. It's about being, seen somewhere new. And we've seen some talent arrive at CCW, take part in shows and go elsewhere, and that's fine. It's what it's all about. But I think Pride, I think he's going to be here to stay. And I really hope we can continue working well with him.
Absolutely. Like I said, he's a guy that I've seen in different places. His background and who he's been trained by, does speak volumes. I mean, Pride has definitely been there. He's been on cards, he's been on shows, but he hasn't quite been that player, that kind of person that you say, okay, that's a guy that I can kind of pencil in for a while. So I think this could maybe be an opportunity. And another guy that we saw who ultimately Pride defeated, but certainly we spoke a little bit about with DJB when we were on the show with him kind of leading up to the match, was Simon G. Money. Simon G. Money is a man we know very well here, and he actually won the Pride flag on a pole match. You want to talk about Simon G. Money?
So Simon G. Money is, he gets called llama legs. He's quite irritating, to be honest with you. And you do after you've had a few conversations with him, you do want to bat him in the throat. But it's all good entertainment. Simon G. Money put himself in the running for the Pride flag on a pole match. So the Pride flag on the pole match, the ultimate idea was, if you gain the flag, you gain a title shot. You gain a shot at the Pride of the Ring in future shows. So Simon G. Money stepped in the ring with the Lilac Demon Spawn and Craig Forsyth. Now, it was to be fair, it was a bit of a mismatch in all terms of character base, chucking them all in the ring together.
I know you got Craig Forsyth, who's certainly an interesting wrestler. You got Simon G. Money, and then you've got obviously Spawn there. And we're going to certainly talk a lot about him on Thursday's show. I mean, that's kind of almost like a mesh of three of polar opposites, more or less.
Yeah, and I think it brought every dynamic to a wrestling match should have. It brought, I know Spawn's opportunity was taken away from him by Lilith, the demon sister that he has, the little banshee. But it is what it is. You'll no doubt be covering that in future
I'll
shows.
be covering that quite a bit on Thursday.
But But yeah, Simon G Money, he took an opportunity, he put himself into the picture, and yeah, happy to have him take part in the future. He did win. He did actually successfully cash in on the same night. We'll come to that in a little while when we talk about the main event. But yeah, he absolutely, in my books, tactful genius.
For sure, no question about that. Certainly, and Craig Forsyth's a guy that I spoke quite a bit about last week with Jam Dog. Craig Forsyth's a guy that you've seen in places like Alba Championship Wrestling, and he's certainly of late been in CCW. So that would certainly be, I'm sure, something I'll talk about with those guys. And again, in the future with Alba, and then certainly with Spawn, again, he's going to be a big topic. And speaking of Jam Dog, by the way, obviously our good buddy here has a comment, but also he was with the Rainbow Rangers and defeated the Elite. I mean, the Elite certainly back together, and the Rainbow
Oh yes.
Rangers and Jamie Mack, they were able to get the victory there, and certainly make their return not as eventful.
Well, I mean, the Rainbow Rangers brought the rave, the dance, and the entertainment, and then Jam Dog just brought the absolute carnage with them. And I knew, obviously, I didn't think the Elite would get answer the call. They did. They got them. They got their business handed to them, and sent packing. Yeah, but yeah, it was good to see the Elite beat. Absolutely.
I know for you that's a personal one. Having you on here in the past, that's a personal one. So you had to have been, no matter what happened. I know you couldn't necessarily root for people, but that one secretly, I have no doubt that you were very happy.
Oh yeah, I was standing with me Rainbow Rangers flags and me Jam Dog Mac flag.
Did you come out to the Jam Dog music too? Nah, 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 nah.
It's in the airworm. That once you've heard it once, you cannot not hear it.
Oh my God! And we can't wait to have him back on next month. We're going to induct him into our Sportzwire Radio Hall of Fame, and seeing Walker Wall Street back in action. We know Walker's going to be in the ring with Nate Sawyer, but I guess we were glad Walker was found right before the year is out. But there we were. We saw him, and Ronnie Thatcher, and I guess maybe that'll be, in a way, they'll have to figure out how to get back on track, because they're going to be a huge part of things for sure at Fighter Strike 3. So maybe from what we saw from them then, they're going to have to figure out how to get back on track next weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're going to have to get their game plan together. Walker especially, he's got a mammoth task ahead of him.
He's got a very, very big task ahead of him. We saw Mercy's mighty fight. He certainly, if it wasn't for the tribal cheese, we might still be talking about him somewhere like we were prior to what was happening with him. But I also want to talk to you about Aisha and Cora Moon.
Yeah, so we said that was going to be an absolute tremendous clash of talent, but Aisha was poorly. She wasn't able to make it. So Cora Moon, came out with no opponent. And then she was rudely interrupted by Devlin, and obviously he was telling her to get out of the ring and all the rest of it. And then Rico Justice comes out.
I was going to say
Rico the day to enforce a bit of justice in coming out championship wrestling, and then he was chased out by Adrian Black,
which led to Bat Pigeon coming out there.
And then Bat Pigeon come out, and I just thought, you know what it is? Let's get this booked here and now.
We had a Donnybrook there, to say the least. I mean, boy, that was a match that in CCW would have been a main event or a near main event. I mean, you had the Light in the Dark champion. Devlin's a champion in his own right.
Yeah,
and then
absolutely.
You had Rico Justice, who's been an up-and-coming star. And congratulations to Rico Justice, because a little justice is on the way. And then Bat Pigeon is always a part of things in CCW. So,
yeah. I mean, you can't have a party without the Bat Pigeon, can you? That's the main thing. And it was, it was an opportunity for Devlin and Adrian Black to, I guess, have it thrown to them. And I think Rico Justice and Bat Pigeon to have a win over the likes of Devlin and Adrian Black. Well, I mean, it might lead to his days as being the Light in the Dark champion number, in my opinion.
Well, you know what? I mean, obviously, Dustin Hart is back, and he's going to certainly, I'm sure, have a lot more motivation. He was watching that match very closely, no doubt about that. And I'm sure he'll definitely be a big topic once again on Thursday's show with the champion himself, Mr. Prince Dagan, who makes his return to Sportswire Radio. And get this, almost 2 years. It's been 21 months. We've actually looked back. It's been 21 months since Prince Dagan has come back to Sportswire Radio. And I think about my 5 years. Obviously, I'm celebrating 5 years next Thursday. That is one of the longest been between times of appearances in our show's history. So the fact
Yeah.
that he's coming on in 21 months, it's really, again, it's one of the longest in between appearances from one person's made back onto Sportswire Radio, and certainly it's a different Dagan from the first time I had Mr. Dagan on. So I'm sure that'll definitely be one for the ages. And you had a drag battle. I mean, I don't know if I've covered a drag battle before, so you have to
Yeah,
tell me what went on
we
here.
certainly did. We had two very young local drag queens come along. They wanted to showcase their talent, and again, I think it's something unique. You don't see it everywhere. So basically, they dragged off against each other. Dame Flaps hosted the show, and obviously there was no winner. They were both extremely talented. You know, they've done absolute great. I think they did a song each. Then they performed throughout the interval as well. So there was no stopping for them. A drag battle again, new, unique, fresh, and that's what I want this to be all about. We're going to be seeing a lot more of that sort of thing. And I've got an idea of actually I'll keep that under my hat. But yeah,
Yeah, keep it under your hat, because at this point, if you say it, I was the best thing you could have said, because if you would have said the idea in Sportswire, everybody either would have took the idea, everybody would have twisted the idea, and most importantly, everybody would have knew about the idea, so they would have had an opinion one way or another. So certainly make sure you keep that to yourself. When we get a chance to see it, I'm sure we'll have no doubt we'll cover it here on the platform. And again, obviously, another reason why all wrestling matters, we're giving all types of people an opportunity here, and I think that's what's really exciting here about this. So let's come back to the main event here. Once again, we talked about Pride in a general point, but obviously the main event itself, which again, a really, really good match.
Yep. So we had the Golden Guardian match. So this match was set up that starts off as a singles competition where they have to eliminate each other over the top rope, which then unlocks the Golden Guardian. The Golden Guardian gets into the ring, and you have to defeat the Golden Guardian in order to be crowned Pride of the Ring.
Wow.
So that was the concept. And because Jensen Ryan was unable to attend, it left a space. We didn't have a competitor, and the match was going to be cancelled. And then Simon G. Money, with his little flag that he acquired earlier on that night, tactfully cashed in. And there was a lot of he got a lot of abuse off the fans. He always does anyway. But yeah,
that's true.
Lama Legs got abused off the fans. He cashed in. The match was made, and yeah, we've seen Simon G. Money and Pride clash. Pride got eliminated first, which was very disappointing. However, we knew there was still an opportunity that he could potentially be back into the match, because if you fail to pin the Golden Guardian, he pins you, then your opponent gets an opportunity to get back in. So at that point, Simon G. Money is battling with the Golden Guardian. He's no match for the Guardian. No match, and he gets defeated, unlocking Pride back into the ring. And we've seen some very, take this away for the fact that Pride is very respectful and he's very polite. He took it to the Golden Guardian and he laced him. The Golden Guardian didn't take it lying down. He gave him as good as he got. But at the finish, Pride, his hand was raised as the Pride of the Ring. He was crowned, and he'll be having a coronation at the next show to celebrate being.
It's almost like the King of the Ring. Almost, we used to see the King of the Ring tournament. Those old shows, those first early inceptions of the King of the Ring, where you'd see obviously the person who wins get up there, and they would put the crown on. That's kind of interesting thing. And I think also the other thing I took away from it is that it reminds me almost of like a double elimination tournament in a way, sort of with that concept. Obviously, Pride getting eliminated but coming back in. I thought that was pretty clever, actually. I thought I would like to see maybe some of that in some, let's say, shows like CCW, or certainly anything else we might see in the future, even in Carnage Championship Wrestling. You might want to talk about that, because I thought that's a pretty clever idea there.
Yeah, I mean, I am, the smooth talker, the deer stalker with all the good ideas, but I'll be keeping that one firmly to myself. They can bugger off. They're not getting none of that.
Fair enough, but I did think that was a very
good,
very clever thing. Absolutely. And again, if you want to follow Cutlery Championship Wrestling and so many great outlets, and especially Coming Out Championship Wrestling, like our general manager, Taylor Tridge, is doing a phenomenal job. You're so happy to have Taylor back after over 1 year absence. Facebook, CCW Coming Out Championship Wrestling. There's also a number of other ways you want to support Cutlery Championship Wrestling here. And also, once again, Fighter Strike 3, congratulations to everybody in CCW for getting the show sold out. Once again, obviously, the entire month on all Sportswire radio platforms is recognized as CCW month. Instagram, Coloring Championship _ Wrestling, Twitter, CCW UKNE, YouTube, CCW UK Northeast, where you can watch now shows like Mercy's Mighty Fight, the Coloring Christmas Carol. Also, the Facebook, the main group, Coloring Championship Wrestling. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling. And for now, I have my voice with me. Kind of a funny joke making out of it, but where all wrestling matters here, and I am the host of the Sports Report. And if you like what you hear from us, our past, present, and future shows, you can check out on YouTube now at Sportswire Radio 6579 Backspace Streams. We're closing in on 500 subscribers, which is great because it gives us an opportunity to have a super chat on YouTube. And we were on Facebook the last time you were on the air. Now we're on YouTube, and we're doing a great job. And obviously, if you're out there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, you can listen to all of our great content on Sportswire Radio. We're going to have a podcast. You have an internet radio station. If you have anything you suggest, music, whatever it might be, you want to get involved in the world of radio for free of charge, we give you the opportunity to go out and have your voice heard. So just get in touch with me. Very simple. At Facebook at Tom Bryce, Sportswire Radio, Instagram, The Sports Report 2021, Twitter at Thomas Bryce 2017. And we'll give you that opportunity to go out there and get your voice heard. Also, if you want to check out our blog here, we have a blog at Tumblr at Sportswire Radio. So we write about some of the things. Although I've had on so many guests at this point, Taylor, I haven't had a chance to write about every single one of them because literally in the last 70 days, I've had like 80 guests. I have actually guessed that I forgot. Can we do it again another time? And I literally non-wrestling related. I had, and God bless him, I had a guy that was he actually hiked like Antarctica, and he wanted to come on Sportswire. And unfortunately, I was like, I have to reschedule you. I don't remember what we were talking about. So that's how busy we've been on the platform. So thank you so much.
It has been busy.
And it's great to be busy, but my voice, as you can see, is definitely needing a break at some point soon. But we're going to get through, obviously, this next week. So, obviously, CCW's got a big show ahead, and we'll have coverage one more time as a reminder. Thursday night, 8 o'clock, British Standard Time, after a nearly 2-year absence, 21 months, Prince Dagan, the CCW Underground Champion of the World, makes his long-awaited return to Sportswire Radio. The first time you saw Dagan to what you see now, totally unlike him, and he's now the most dominant, most ruthless, and most cunning champion we've ever seen in this sport. That's why he is here, and he's going to talk about his own son, Spawn. He's going to talk about all of that here and some. So make sure if you're listening out there on Sports by Radio, be on your very, very best behavior because the champion makes his long-awaited return after 21 months. It's going to be one for the ages. I promise you, you will not miss one. But right now, we are having a great time here, Mr. Taylor Trutz. And I also want to say here, evening, Shifty Sherlock. So we say evening to you as well. And Pride was a great fit at CCW, both on the show and backstage. Absolutely. Again, Pride, by the way, I want to give him a big shout out. Pride actually wrote some nice words to me, so he was very happy that we were covering the show. So thank you, Pride, for your support. I appreciate that. And Pride is a guy, again, I've watched in a couple of different promotions. So certainly we wish Pride a lot of luck. We hope to see him more often in CCW, and I'm looking forward to seeing him on next weekend show. So obviously, I'll come back to some other things here in Coming Out Championship Wrestling. Plus, Taylor Trutz, I've actually got something for you, actually, for a change. So we're going to give you something toward the end of the show. So I'm going to give you something. You know what? Because, we want to be a little bit more in the giving mood here on Sportswire. Because, so many people come on to us and they support us. And obviously, CCW has been one of our biggest supporters over the years. And I cannot thank enough the entire locker room and everybody coming on here, yourself, certainly James Barris, leave aside Bobblehead Barris for a second, but everybody continuing to support the platform. But I do want to talk to you, obviously, and a few things coming up here in Fighter Strike 3. And obviously, Mr. Dagan's coming on here. And anything you might want to say about that? Anything in particular that should kind of give us a early warning or, to prepare for Thursday night?
Well, I mean, before we talk about Dagon, Fight or Strike 3. I think it speaks for itself.
Amen.
Not 1, not 2, 3. The fact that in 2020 we had never put on a show, we'd never taken part in any form of in-ring stuff due to lockdowns. We're now at Fight or Strike 3. 2024, I would say, cliche enough, 2024 is the year of CCW. However, it's forever been. Every year since 2020, we've been up against it. We've fought through some very difficult times.
I remember when Mr. Barris came on almost 2 years ago after what was going out there said in the tabloids, and there were people that said, you know what? I don't know if you should talk about that company. I don't want to come on Sportswire. There was one person, I don't want to say who he was. I don't want to give him the credit of time. He was a ring announcer in a company, had nothing to do with CCW. He's like, you know what? I'm going to be following that company. I don't want to come on here. But I always said it, and I said it then when James Barris came on the show. I said it then. I will continue to say it till I basically have no voice left. That CCW will always be on Sportswire Radio. CCW will always have a home on Sportswire Radio, and there will be nothing that will ever change that.
And likewise with the support you've gave over the years, it's grateful. But the fact that we're at Fighter Strike 3, starting of 2024, and we're moving towards the first CCW Colliery show, if you like, it's packed. The card is packed and stacked. There's
Oh
no
my God,
reason.
we got some of
There's
the
no
best
other way
stars
to
in the
put it.
world in this
Absolutely.
company, and how about sold out once again? If there was any ever doubt, I feel like it's almost like a rerun on Sportswire Radio. Every time we have a CCW show, it's it's been a lot of them over the past 2 years. I'm sure somebody will check that out. Every time CCW has a show on Sportswire that we're promoting, it's always sold out. There's never a doubt.
I mean, it speaks for itself. I mean, sold out to some people might mean, half a house, but to us it means a packed house.
Full
I mean,
house. And I've watched the shows live up and close. It's sold out. I can tell you, it's
Mercy's
sold out.
Mighty Fight was a prime example of how much we can pack into one room. It was really, really busy. And Fighter Strike is set up to be the same. Now, when it comes to Dagon, Prince Dagon, there's no words to explain of what lengths you won't go to in order to be and continue to be the most dominant force in CCW. I disagreed with them many times. I've been beaten up by them. I've been threatened by them. And some might say, I've learned a lesson. Probably not. I'll probably do it again because I like to stick my neck out when I'm able to. But at the end of the day, to get in the ring with your own son in the manner that he's going to get in the ring with his own son tells you everything you need to know. Who would be prepared to do that if they weren't serious about keeping some gold?
But you could also say that the man himself is a man that certainly he'll do anything in any way. And who's to stop him? I mean, Jam Dog tried. I mean, I'll bring up Jam Dog in a few minutes. I mean, Johnny Flashback tried. I mean, certainly the 80s humorous videos didn't necessarily work because it was basically almost an execution of what we saw in that 30-minute match, that Iron Man match there that the two of them had. I mean, so at the end of the day, I mean, maybe as crazy as it sounds, the only hope would be, well, quote unquote, his own spawn, who technically has a victory over him recently. Maybe that's the only thing that can get in the way of the most dominant run that we've ever seen. I said it last time on the show. Prince Dagon is the most dominant and the most successful CCW champion in the company's history right now.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't disagree with you, despite my personal opinions. And from time to time, I honestly couldn't disagree with you. Again, I've been on the end of the wrath of the pair of them.
I've seen.
Adrian and him. And obviously now they've got Lilith running around screaming like a banshee. So ultimately, what you're going to see here is a fire that won't be put out, continuing to burn through another show. And what's next is what you asked. What are they going to do next? Who are they going to hurt next? How are they going to hurt somebody next? These are all questions that you'll see unfold on the 27th.
Absolutely, no question about that. Really, really excited about the show, and I'm excited about everything related to what we see. A number of stars are speaking of one of those stars here who might want to try and get revenge. We spoke about him, an old friend who's been on Sportswire several times, and it's been a while since we've had him on. I'm sure we'll get him back on after the 27th. And Dustin Hart, and he takes on Adrian Black. And we were supposed to see Dustin Hart actually at the Colory Christmas Carol go out and take on Mr. Dagon for that championship. And then Jam Dog certainly made a heroic effort, a valiant effort, certainly to try to, get one over on the champion, and came up short. But Dustin Hart, we see here for the Light in the Dark Championship. And this is a match I think a lot of people are waiting for a long time. And certainly Mr. Barris has some history with Mr. Hart. And I feel like for whatever reason, Taylor, I've been doing this for 2 years with you guys in CCW. And I always feel like it is, in a way, maybe it's a good or a bad thing. It's like a rerun in the fact that Dustin Hart still doesn't have a contract in CCW, and he's going to be going out there once again, putting himself on the line against Adrian Black, a man that just, like you said, unstoppable.
I mean, I think Adrian Black's more destructive than Dagon, actually.
I saw what he did with Jam Dog at the Mercy's Mighty
I
Fight.
mean,
I mean, my goodness.
anybody that gets brought to the ring in handcuffs, there's a, we've seen it with from Kane.
There's some
We know what
people
that.
that might want to put me in handcuffs the way I speak these days, but you know what? Jam Dog did feel that front row and got a first-hand thought on it.
Oh, absolutely, and I think we're going to see Dustin Hart tested to his biggest test yet. In the brutal, the brutal ways of Adrian Black. And let's face it, I mean, bobblehead Barris fires somebody who doesn't have a contract. I mean, that in itself tells you a lot, doesn't it?
Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know if I've seen that before. I don't know if I'll see it again, but it certainly tells you what Mr. Barris thinks of Dustin Hart.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, I'm a massive loyal Dustin Hart fan. I'm a massive follower of
Dustin's
his
one of the
work.
most popular people in the company's history. There's no question that when Dustin comes on here, even on Sportswire, the fans love him. Dustin Hart,
Yeah.
He's so beloved here by the fans.
Ultimately, you're gonna see Dustin Hart really pushed, and I'll say that as a supporter of his, as a good friend and a brother, he's going to be pushed to his absolute level. There's no two ways about it. He's been up against some gruesome big people in the past. He's fought unfightable fights, but to be honest, he's up against Adrian Black, who, let's face it, is on an unstoppable run.
You know Dustin Hart very well. Now, obviously, don't tell me anything. Don't tell me specifically, but have you spoken to him about this? I mean, you guys have some history. It goes back a long time. I mean, have you guys spoken at all or anything? Has he asked you for any, advice or anything like that?
No, we haven't actually, and the reason being is because in the past he doesn't come to me for counsel. He tends to just let me try and help him sort out a problem if we can together. Listen, he's extremely well talented. He's extremely qualified to deal with the situation. There's nothing I could tell him that would make that situation any more, claimable. He's claiming a mountain. In fairness, that's on fire. Um, the only advice I would give him, and I'll give him it right here, right now, when he tunes in or if he's watching, is the only advice I would give him is, don't turn your back on anybody on ringside. Don't turn your back. Keep facing the fight, and don't take your eye off the game, because any confusion, any distraction, and that's it. You'll have it taken from under your feet.
Yeah, I mean, seeing what we've seen of late of Adrian Black and obviously the Light in the Dark champion and the tag team champion, I mean, he is just, I mean, I don't know if I've seen anything like this between him and certainly the champion, Mr. Dagan, who's going to be on here Thursday. So there's no question that Dustin Hart's got his work cut off. Like you said, Dustin, though, always never shied away from a fight. Dustin's always been somebody that he doesn't back down. He doesn't take anything for granted. He goes out there and he fights with literally all of his heart. So that's why Dustin, if you are going to say if he could find a way to win this, it'll really be because of his heart. And it'll be from his sheer ability to never give up. And maybe Adrian hasn't faced off with somebody like that. So we'll have to find out and certainly see. And also, I have to ask you about Jam Dog, because Jam Dog was here last Tuesday. And Jam Dog is obviously doing double duty. He's in the Rumble, but is also defending his championship against, obviously, Mr. Barris's protege. Mr. Barris is certainly the person he's put a lot in, Mr. Alfie Nerds. And, on premise, this would look like a mismatch, but Jam Dog and I spoke a lot about this last week on the show. And you know what? Alfie Nerds keeps coming back for more, and I have to ask you a crazy, crazy question. You're going to think it's funny, but I have to ask you, is this the moment that Alfie Nerds finally gets one over the hardcore champion and take away that Carnage hardcore championship that Jam Dog has pretty much had on full lock on for the better part of half a year?
No,
No,
definitely
why?
not.
Why?
The reason is I've made this mistake before, and I made it, and I've Jam Dog is a loose cannon. He's a
That I know.
psychopath.
That I know.
He's a psychopath. He'll put his body through things that most people wouldn't even dream and nightmare of. Alfie Nerds is lucky. However, what I will say is, and I have praised him in the past, Alfie Nerds has a certain way of, showing up and showing off. And by that I mean don't underestimate him either, because again, just like the Dustin situation, if Jam Dog takes his eye off the game, Alfie Nerds could capitalize, and it could come crashing down. However, Jam Dog has a, a career spanning so long.
Oh my
He's been
goodness.
in the ring. He's been in the ring with next to everything you can possibly put him up in front of a
I
person,
mean, this is a
and he
man
knows
that
the
has
score.
been in there and trained with people that we see actually on some little company, which is again not as big as CCW WWE programming. So it tells you that this man's resume speaks for itself. But let me ask you though a slight question. I say hello to Daniel Banner here. He says hello, Tom and Taylor. He enjoyed
Hi,
the
Dan.
match with pride. Thank you so much for that. But let me ask you though a question. And I had asked Jam Dog this question, and you would know a little bit better because obviously you've done some managering. You've obviously do ring introductions. You're obviously now a general manager, so you can have a different eye than I would because I don't know the same amount of things about what goes on the mind of a wrestler versus somebody else. But when it comes to, let's say, somebody like Jam Dog, right? Jam Dog is somebody that's obviously going to see him in Alba Championship Wrestling coming up on the 17th of February. He's supposed to be defending this championship, quote unquote. And then he spoke a lot about being in the Rumble itself at Fighter Strike 3 in the Calorie Rumble and talked about the fact he had never been a world champion or certainly the CCW World Underground Championship. And he talked about his career, and you could tell it meant something to him in the fact that he has never been a world champion. It's the one thing that has eluded him in his career. And on top of that, he wants to get even with Black and Dagan. Is there a possibility, in a way, I know it's Jam Dog, I know he's a veteran, but even after what he said to me last week when I asked him that question, is there a possibility that Jam Dog could take his eye off the prize here, lose to Alfie Nerds, lose that Carnage Hardcore Championship because he's focused too much on winning that Rumble to get his crack possibly at becoming a world champion for the first time in his career, and also February the 17th, Alba Championship Wrestling?
No, I think when you've been in the game as long as Jam, I think you put things in compartments as to what you need to do, what you need to achieve, and then he knows he's been. Let take aside, his matches with Alfie Nerds, or take aside the matches with Dagon he's had. He holds one of the most prestigious belts, aside from the Light and the Dark, the Hardcore Carnage Championship that means so much to the promotion, and he won it at a venue, at an event where everything goes.
Yep.
And he did that, himself without having to consider any other options and other belts. Jam Dog Mac is going to go into both of these opportunities, I'll call them, with the same goal: tear shit up and leave with the belt.
Let me ask you a follow-up as we are here with Taylor Truths. Taylor is the general manager for Coming Out Championship Wrestling. You can follow them on Facebook at CCW Coming Out Championship Wrestling. They just had their historic show last week and their first one. Very, very successful. And certainly we look forward to more ahead with Taylor Truths. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling, where all wrestling matters. Let me ask you, though, a question in a different way. And tell me your thoughts again, because you know Jam Dog very well. You do a lot of different things, and you have a different eye than, let's say, I would. But let me ask you though: is this kind of the potential to be the biggest weekend or the biggest day in Jam Dog's career coming up next Saturday?
Mm, I wouldn't have said it was. I think absolutely he's got it up against him, and I think he's got a lot. He's got a lot to lose.
He's doing
Whereas,
double, and he's doing double duty. And he spoke a lot about that Rumble. And there's a lot of guys that already want to go after him. The Tribal Cheese is in that Rumble, and the Tribal Cheese in Rumbles, he doesn't lose. You got Hybrid. Hybrid's the former champion. He said a lot about, how he's felt and where he is. You got guys like Walker Wall Street out there. I mean, there's some big names here. You got Alpha Taker. I mean, you got a lot of people here in this Rumble that are going to look to make an example of a Jam Dog and maybe deny him of that moment. That's why I was kind of, in a way, asking these questions, because there is certainly that possibility, if all goes to fruition for Jam Dog, this could be the biggest weekend of his career. but there's going to be a lot of guys, and including Alfie Nerds and Bobblehead Barris, as many people call him affectionately, that are going to look to deny him of that moment and slip him up. And there were guys, like I said, on here last week, just in two names right off the bat, the Tribal Cheese and certainly Hybrid, two men that they've been world champions before, two men that they've won in these things, and they know what it takes to win. And Jam Dog hasn't quite won the big one.
Well, he hasn't. But however, what I will say is, I've been in Rumbles myself, and I've said this from day one. You don't have to be good at this to win a Rumble. You've just got to be opportunistic and you've got to be tactful. Now, I remember being to the final two of a Rumble, right, with Rarebit. Now, I had no chance of winning that. However,
I know Rarebit very well. Man, I've covered quite a bit. Yep. Oh, yeah.
I got to that point by being tactful. I laid low. I used tough blows when I needed to, and I eliminated people who didn't think they were going to be eliminated. Walker of Wall Street. I've eliminated him, and he holds a belt. So what you have to ask yourself,
our British champion, for those that are listening and watching, correct?
Those who boast about winning Rumbles and those who boast about holding belts aren't the ones to watch. It's the ones that are under the radar to watch.
Well, famously the Rumble, listen, Randy Orton hit under the ring for what, 45 minutes it was? I mean, so yeah, I mean, they're tactically, you're not wrong. Tactically, you're not wrong. And I actually do want to get to a couple different things here. First of all, putting you on the hot seat here, the Tribal Cheese wants to know, will you make an appearance?
Oh.
Putting right on the spot there. I mean, he's putting it out there. He wants to know.
Well, to be honest,
your size, you could certainly be one of those guys that, you know what? Maybe I would want to pay attention to you, Taylor Schultz.
Yeah, no, unfortunately I'm out of shape and out of training, so I wouldn't be able to make an appearance. Not to say I won't be able to get involved at some point, but I would definitely don't think I'll be making an appearance. However, in the future, who knows? Again, I've been in a few Rumbles. And I've seen, again, the Rico Justices of the world are the ones to worry about because they'll go under the radar. Nobody watches them seriously. And I've been in a Rumble with Rico Justice. You know, he's had my back and I've had his.
That's a good point. Rico Justice is a guy that's come on the scene in CCW in the past maybe 6 or 7 months. And a guy like that might be somebody in this Rumble that says, you know what? I got a lot of motivation right now. I haven't quite, I'd say I haven't had success, but I haven't quite had the success of some of the usuals that we speak about here on Sportswire Radio. And he could use this in a way to kind of propel himself. And maybe that's the guy, like you said, or a guy to keep an eye on. I mean, that's certainly a very valid statement. I mean, how about guys even like Johnny Flashback, who came up short against Dagan? They're in the Rumble. You know what? They want to say, you know what? I had my crack at Dagan. I know what happened, and I want to use this as a way as motivation to win that Rumble and get that rematch. I mean, there's guys like him out there.
There'll be people who we don't know of, and there's the thing. You know, it's a door of opportunity, and when that noise goes, that klaxon rings. You don't know who's going to come out that curtain.
Well, you know what? Listen, and I'll say it out there before we get to comments. I mean, there's a lot of free agents right now in the world of wrestling. I mean, listen, we know that. Listen, Matt Cardona is the independent darling. Maybe he's coming his way to CCW. I mean, Franco Varga, a man that we've seen been on this show, he's making a trip to the UK. I mean, could Franco Varga be on his way to CCW? He certainly knows that CCW is the place to be. Well, how about another guy, Davey Blaze? We saw was already a champion in another promotion. Look at what we did and what we saw him do to Persona. I mean, obviously, Davey Blaze would be a man that anybody would certainly put their money on. He even talked about the fact that he wanted gold in CCW. I mean, there is a slew of stars in this sport that might want to join this Rumble that we have no idea of because they know that CCW is the place to be. They know that CCW has had 41 shows and nearly all of them have been sold out and will be sold out even afterwards for years and years to come. They know that CCW has the social media following. They know that CCW is where the big boys play, and that's why it could be anybody of anybody that could be in this Rumble, and that's why you want to follow CCW. But let me get to a few comments here. Daniel Banner, WWE had a gimmick battle royal. We could see a gimmick Rumble in the future. Well, I'm going to let Taylor decide that on his own accordion. I'm sure he's not going to announce that here on Sportswire after what I just said. But maybe you never know. Never say never. I want to say hello to one of our champions here coming up in Resurrection Wrestling, Mr. Drake Golddragon. Drake was on their most recent show yesterday on Elevation, episode 33. Drake, how you doing, champ? And we're going to definitely get you on the platform before lockdown. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you will do your best against King Rage in lockdown in that cage. It'll be a cage of rage. We'll have to see if you will combat that. Appreciate you, Taylor. Thank you. Are you coming to Alba Championship Wrestling on the 17th?
Hopefully, I do have work, but I'm trying to get out of it.
Okay. Well,
if I
you don't
can, I'll
have
be
to tell
there.
us. All right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll say that we will all be there regardless because we're looking forward to watching Alba. And Alba Championship Wrestling is another company that, by the way, just reactivated their YouTube page and one of their more recent shows is up. Go out and check it out. Phenomenal show. That's for sure. Jam Dog wants to say people don't lose because they're yet to go face to face with the Jam Dog. That's it.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And actually, going back to that situation, depending how Hell for Leather Jam goes in his match with Alfie Nerds, could determine his ability to win the Rumble.
Well, that's why, listen, and that's why I said to me that, listen, Alfie Nerds is going to have a lot of motivation. Alfie Nerds went out there and said, you know what? I want another shot with Jam Dog. I want to go out there and prove that, listen, Jam Dog right now, and I said it last week on the show, and I'm going to say it again here because there's people that may or may not know what I'm about to say. Jam Dog right now is our UK version of hardcore guys like you might see on some show called Grimm's Toy Shop, the likes of their Intercontinental Champion, Mikey Anarchy, Sergeant Jimmy Controversy, another man that has come on to Sportswire Radio. Hardcore, a man that wrestled Madman Pondo, the man that's wrestled in Japan, XPW, all those other places that all the hardcore stars go to. UWF, Pro Wrestling Venom, Obey, another one that was in XPW. He's also the Pro Wrestling Venom World Champion. Obey, a man on Sportswire Radio that even pulled out a gun. This is who Jam Dog is toe-to-toe with. This is Jam Dog, the UK version of all those big stars that you see on YouTube or anywhere else, and here on Sportswire Radio, where hardcore deathmatch wrestling has gotten its due because Sportswire Radio is the place to be, and it's all wrestling matters here because we're the #1 global radio station. So that's why Jam Dog might be a guy that, you know what? Who knows what anybody's getting into when it comes to him because he's a different kind of cat. He's a different kind of wrestler, and that's why he is our hardcore champion. Let me get to the Tribal Cheese first. The fans may get to see it. We may want to see it. Jam and cheese going to war. We talked about the jam and cheese sandwich last week. I don't know if anybody's had that before. I don't know if you might have a #1 or a #2 afterwards. I'll certainly leave that to you if you want to have that. But it's all business. Yes, these guys will definitely, I'm sure, shake hands. I guess they'll have a jam and cheese. Maybe they won't have a jam and cheese together, but I'm sure that either one of these men will be the favorites for sure in the Rumble to get their shot at Miners Mania for any championship of their choosing. But Jam Dog pretty much made it clear on Sportswire Radio that he wants that underground championship because he has never held a world heavyweight championship in his 20-plus year career. That's kind of hard to fathom for me. But Jam Dog does want to say, in that case, Taylor, please allow me to invite you to take part in the Hardcore Battle Royal for my Carnage Hardcore Championship on February the 17th at Alba Championship Wrestling.
Well, if I'm off and I'm able to get some training in, I can't say why not. If I'm able to be there, I might as well step between Alba's ropes. Absolutely.
Ooh, now that I don't think anybody was expecting here. That was certainly maybe something to stay tuned for here. I mean, obviously, it's hard to be subject to change, but that could be maybe a opening for something else. Stay tuned. You might never know what can come on Sportswire Radio. But, I will come back to the Rumble. I will come back to a couple things, and I'll come back to something that I actually want to give you on behalf of Sportswire Radio. But I was curious, and maybe I should ask it this way since we are kind of basically shooting from the hip here. Taylor Trutz, our general manager for Coming Out Championship Wrestling. Is there anything in particular that you might want to get off your chest?
Well, I mean, I could. There's a lot. I'd be here all night. But I just, CCW is not perfect. James Barris isn't perfect. James Barris and me obviously go a long way back now. And there's times where I could strangle him to death when he gets himself involved in things he shouldn't. And to be honest, I'll say this here now, and to you, and my advice would be to you as well. If you are in a bad state of mind, and if you are angry at the world, if you're angry at something, you disagree with something, don't put it on Facebook. I think the whole world could learn a lot by not putting stuff on Facebook. And listen, James Barris isn't perfect by
Sure.
no stretch of the imagination. However, James Barris has been there for me when I've needed him. And that is a loyalty that I'll never, ever break. So whether you like her, whether you hate her, whether you've never heard of when you've just found her, give it an opportunity to get yourself along and see what we do.
Amen. I could not agree with that anymore. And I want to say that Facebook, certainly people say things, and it's unfortunate that people say things. We here on Sportswire Radio always try to do our best to give people a place that they can come and they can talk and chat and have a good time, and obviously support and love the thing that really brings all of us together, whether it's from our background, our gender, our orientation, whatever it might be, country you're from, language. It's all about wrestling. And the sport of wrestling can do so many great things to connect people. Look, I'm speaking with you. I'm in New York. You're on the other side of the world. If it wasn't for wrestling, I wouldn't be here. I would not have met the kind of people that I've met in CCW if it wasn't for the sport of wrestling. I would not be here and getting a chance to know so many people around the world because of the sport of wrestling, but also most importantly because of people like James Barris who have put their time in. Whether you love him or hate him, James Barris has been somebody that has always gone above and beyond the means of supporting those that want to be having an opportunity, those that want to go out there and show and express their opportunities for their love of wrestling. And that's why I will always say it here. I'm a James Barris guy through and through. There's no question, there's no disputing about the fact that I am a James Barris guy all the way. And CCW is always going to be a place on Sportswire Radio that we're going to cover because CCW is giving people an opportunities. And again, yes, CCW, certainly nobody's perfect. We're on this earth for a reason. We're only here temporarily. And I would certainly think that, wherever we may go afterwards, I would hope it'll be a lot more perfect. It'll be a lot more happier. But the facts are is what the facts are is that CCW is the place that people want to be. CCW is the most successful place to be. And that's why you want to follow CCW on a number of different platforms and forget about the outside noise. Forget about the people that want to say different things on Facebook because the facts are the people that say those things on Facebook are jealous of the fact that they either couldn't cut the mustard in CCW or the facts are is at the end of the day, they wish they had a tenth of the success that CCW has. And that's why CCW is going on 41 shows strong. Think about where this company started in 2020 in a worldwide pandemic. It was a dream. Nobody knew what to do. Nobody knew how to go about where we are today. But here we are in 2024. 2024 is the best is yet to come. The best is yet to come, not only for you, Taylor Troots, but for all of the great people that work around CCW because CCW, I'm telling you, is going to go on to even bigger and better places than it is right now. And that's why we want to support CCW in any way, shape, or form. But as we're coming into the second half of the show, I have to ask you when it comes to Fighter Strike 3, coming back to that for a second, because I do want to actually present to you something in about 10 or 15 minutes. I do want to actually give you something. And I also want to give you the opportunity to talk about anything else on your mind further. But I mean, is there anybody else you're watching here in this Rumble? I mean, what do you make of this Alpha Taker?
Well, well, I put it this way: if it makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand up like the Undertaker does, then you know what? Who knows? We might be seeing an Alpha Taker versus whoever wins, Dustin and Spawn and Dago. You just never know. I mean, I would never say I've got money on this person winning a Rumble or that person winning a Rumble because, again, it could go anyway. You could have your lower level people, like I say, come up from nowhere and eliminate the big dogs. It's everybody's opportunity. So this is a message to the roster. Get yourself there and get yourself involved. Sorry, the dog. I'm glad you can't say it. The dog was trying to kiss us. My apologies.
Well, maybe the dog was trying to go into the rumble. Maybe the dog's the person, Taylor. Maybe your dog
Yeah.
is actually the person to win the rumble because your dog. We've seen your dog on Facebook. That's a good thing we want to see on Facebook. But you know what? Maybe your dog's the one that we should have the money on because at the end of the day, I mean, I don't think the tribal cheese can put up with a dog. Jam Dog certainly.
She
Jam
does,
Dog Mac. He might
like,
be a dog, but your dog's got a little bit more of a bark and a bite. And I think anybody else that's entering that rumble, their hair is going to stand up on their necks because your dog is going to enter the rumble and win the rumble.
well, this is it. I mean, it's everybody's game. So if you're involved, if you're there, pull your socks up, get yourself into that rumble, and make sure. Oh yeah, she is a champion. You can't really say it because of the thing, but yeah, she is trying to get involved here. Yeah. So pull your socks up, get yourself in there, and make a statement. That's every rumble I've been in. It's to make a statement. And my driving force on a number of occasions has been family or an opportunity, or it make a statement. So all of these new people who are coming here to do this and get involved, and all the people who maybe haven't never had a championship match in CCW, it's an opportunity to really put yourself out there, so people can think, do you know what it is? He didn't win the Rumble, but my God, he put on a hell of a performance. So absolutely.
Let me ask you a question. I've asked this as a general question for those that have come on the show since now 2024 has started, and we're basically about 2.5 to 3 weeks into the year. I'll ask you a general question, and maybe you can answer it any way you want. What are your goals for 2024?
To continue being humble and enjoying life, and be grateful for those involved with my life, and also, family. Wrestling wise, it's to take Coming Out Championship Wrestling to levels beyond its current platform. I wanted to become a member of every community in the Northeast. I wanted to go on the road. I don't want it to be secular to one area. I'd like to see Coming Out Championship Wrestling perform in Durham, perform in Newcastle, perform in Middlesbrough. I'd like to see Coming Out Championship Wrestling on the road. That's in the future, but for 2024, it's to continue to drive its brand and make it the best it can be.
What is Cullery Championship Wrestling's now Coming Out Championship Wrestling, which now you are the general manager? What has this project meant to you personally?
Well, I think we might have spoke about this briefly in a previous interview, and I have said it in other talks as well. But what I will say is, it goes back to a lot what I was meaning about politics as well. So CCW, a door opened at a time where I needed an outflow into something new and something that wasn't real, to a sense. CCW has allowed me to be somebody different. It's allowed me to be creative. It's allowed me to have fun. It's allowed me to make so many good friends. Both some I've still have, some I've left behind. But it means so much because I'm now in a position as a general manager to give that opportunity to somebody else and to open that door for somebody else and say, listen, come and have a look what we do. Pride is a perfect example. He came, he took part, he enjoyed himself, he had fun. The roster was so warm with him. It was just, and that is the and I want the buzz to be there, and I think, that's what this is all about. Entertainment. One common goal is wrestling. Doesn't matter what promotion you're from. Doesn't matter what level of wrestling you're at. The one goal is wrestling. And if you can't support people, don't bring them down. Don't rip them down. Be the person that says, yes, you may have been an absolute pain in the backside in the past. However, I'm going to give you the opportunity. Absolutely, give you the opportunity to prove to me that what you're doing here is right. Because that's what it's all about.
Well, you know what? We're going to certainly find out. And I want people, I'm not laughing at that, but I'm going to laugh at my next comment I'm going to pull up on the screen. But we want you to follow Coming Out Championship Wrestling on Facebook at CCW Coming Out Championship Wrestling. But apparently there's one person you haven't opened the door to yet.
No, he's not welcome. He
Why
brings
not?
far too much fire and anger. I mean, he was bad enough having his brother there the other week, let alone him as well, burning things down.
Well,
he's going
to be here. Listen, he's going to be here after a 21-month absence. I'm tongue twisted because I'm laughing, but it's a 21-month absence since our champion. I would say the most pound-for-pound dominant champion right now in this sport. That makes his long-awaited return back to Sportswire Radio, and he's here. And those eyes, boy, I'm going to look him in those eyes, and it's going to be one that I promise you are not going to want to miss. And you haven't opened his door to him, but his door is opened on Sportswire Radio. We're going to see. Hopefully, he doesn't come out from the screen and try to burn me down. And although some people right now, you know what? Some people might actually be happy if that were to happen. Some people would actually love for that, but certainly that's not going to happen. Hopefully with Prince Dagan, but we are definitely looking forward to have him here for the first time in over 21 months, 8 o'clock British Standard Time. It is going to be one for the ages here. I'm looking forward to seeing the champion here. It's a total different champion, totally different dynamic here. But, before I get to a few other things, I wanted to tell, obviously it's so good to have you back. And it's been about a year or so, a little more than a year, and it's been a long time since you've been here. And I certainly hope that your next appearance on Sportswire, that we have to wait for a year to have you come back on. But for all the, I really seriously mean that. I've
No,
always liked
absolutely.
having you come on. You've always been welcome here on Sportswire. So is everybody in CCW for sure. But I was thinking, since you had such a successful event here in Coming Out Championship Wrestling, and you have all these different people that are interested in it, and so many people have joined the Facebook group, and you're certainly somebody that I think is going to do even bigger and better things with this. And it's kind of a revolutionary idea. And I hope that more people get to see this. I hope more people get to also take note in what you're doing. And I definitely wanted to, appreciate that and show my gratitude and respect to you. So I wanted to actually, on behalf of Sportswire Radio, especially for our fans here of the platform, kind of give you something if it was okay. And I promise you, this will be something that won't be toxic. I can promise you it's something that you won't have to worry about the politics of, or certainly those that might have been here or might not have been here and couldn't cut the mustard here. And that's why they're no longer here. And, they wish they were here deep down. But I was wondering, though, if I could actually give you something on behalf of Sportswire Radio if you were interested.
Yeah, but why not? Is it cake? Because I love cake.
Unfortunately, I don't bake cakes, but what I think I could give you, certainly you might remember and might have certainly more than that temporary enjoyment of a piece of cake. But certainly this is on behalf of all of us here, and especially yours truly on Sportswire Radio. Congratulations.
Oh,
We
wow.
wanted to recognize you, Taylor, here for everything that you've done, especially for CCW, but also most importantly for Coming Out Championship Wrestling, this historic event here on January the 16th, 2024, on all of our platforms, which is YouTube at Sportswire Radio 6579, Twitter at Thomas Price 2017, Instagram at The Sports Report 2021, Facebook at Sportswire Radio, Tumblr at Sportswire Radio, and also our website here at sportswireradio.org. It is Taylor Truth's Day. So, Taylor, congratulations. Thank you for your outstanding work on behalf of this historic Coming Out Championship Wrestling show. So successful, and so many people paying attention to it, and everything that you've done for this great sport. You have been the reason why all wrestling matters. You've done so much for CCW. It's been such a pleasure to know you over the past few years. You've been on the platform many times, and it's so good to have you back here, back where you belong. And I wanted to, make this day special. And obviously CCW, it's been CCW month on Sportswire Radio, and I wanted to give you your chance at recognition. And obviously, thank you for all that you've done for us here on Sportswire Radio over the years, but especially for last weekend's historic Coming Out Championship Wrestling show. So successful, and I wanted this day to be a little extra special for you here. So congratulations. Thank you for all that you do. And again, January the 16th, 2024, let it be known on all of our platforms here on Sportswire Radio as your host of the Sports Report, owner of Sportswire Radio, the #1 global radio station, your voice of all wrestling, where all wrestling matters. It will now be Taylor Truth's Day.
Wow. Well, I'll definitely have to come on more often if I'm going to get certificates. But I think you have to get some cake out. Next time we'll have to have some cake.
I can't eat cake on air because I'm very superstitious about eating or drinking. I'm actually on a radio station Wednesday nights here in New York time, and I always get asked all the time, hey, do you want a sandwich? Do you want a drink? I'm like, I'm very superstitious about this stuff because I am like really like I don't want to get my voice to crack. I don't want a stomach to go, though my voice is certainly, feeling it these days, but I'm very superstitious. But you're welcome to have cake. You can do whatever you want. I just wanted to give you your moment here. Congratulations. Thank you for all that you've done for us here on Sportswire Radio. Thank you for, giving us this opportunity to talk about, everything that you've done when it comes to this great sport and giving people an opportunity that, would not, I think, have gotten this opportunity. And I just wanted to, obviously say thank you and obviously give you something that I think be remembered and certainly show our appreciation of what you've done. And obviously, as well, everybody on behalf of Coming Out Championship Wrestling, I want to congratulate them. I want to congratulate the talent, the locker room, those that were in the event that would put it together. And I just wanted to give you, a moment here to say, congratulations and, thank you for, putting this together.
Listen, it's absolutely massively appreciated that I've been recognised. But at the end of the day, it's a team effort, and one cog in a machine doesn't make it move. It's an entire machine that needs everything together, and well oiled to move forward. So I appreciate it massively, and the opportunity to be here today to speak to you. We'll definitely be on more often because I'll have other shows to promote.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. I mean, I want to hear more wrestling. I don't want this to be a one-off, though. Taylor Truths. Obviously, we got this banner here, and people all of a sudden started looking at it. They're obviously popping back on, and they see this monumental moment. And you had so much success. You had a slew of stars that we see in CCW. A guy like Pride that we've seen in different promotions. And I would hope that this monumental event, one day could be topped, or maybe, this wouldn't be the only event in Coming Out Championship Wrestling. If there was a way, I know obviously, it takes a lot, and, it's hard to certainly, top something as successful as this was, where we see the pride of the ring, and, we see all these different people and different promotions, different champions compete in this. And, I would just hope if there was a possibility one day, Taylor Truths, that maybe we could see, Coming Out Championship Wrestling have another successful show.
Well, it's interesting you should mention that because I'm about to break news right now with an announcement of a future show, which will take place on May the 4th.
Oh, wow. May the 4th.
We are going to be having ourselves a show on May the 4th. And there'll be a lot more details to follow, but the event will be called Pride Strikes Back, May the 4th, and that is presented by Coming Out Championship Wrestling. And the wheels are already in motion about, putting the card together and getting the right momentum going. A lot more to follow. And I would put this out here now. No doubt it will be watched by a lot of other people. If you want to take part, the door's open. I'm always on the lookout for new interest and talent. So yeah, hit what up. Pride Strikes Back, May the 4th. It will be an intergalactic, non-binary extravaganza.
Wow, it's funny you say intergalactic, and yes, Peter Cummings. I say hi, Peter. How you doing? I know you've put hi in there. Thank you, Peter. We say hello to you. But it's funny because there's a company that we actually cover. Well, a few of them. One of them, Wrestling Championship Entertainment. You can follow them on YouTube at WC Heat. He puts hi, Alan. And also the IMF, they actually are hosting, or they have their own intergalactic champion. His name is Mephisto. And the fact that you have an intergalactic non-binary battle royal is kind of fascinating. Maybe you'll have an intergalactic championship similar to what they have in WC and the IMF. But the fact that somebody must be a Star Wars fan, that we're going to have May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. May the force be with you. And going out there, May the 4th, Cutlery Championship Wrestling presents Coming Out Championship Wrestling, and the Pride Strikes Back. And I have no doubt he's going to definitely be striking back. And I have no doubt that you're going to want to go to YouTube at CCW, Coming Out Championship Wrestling, and go out there and support this, because you've only got a few short months. I know right now we're in London, we're in North Newcastle, we're in Old Cutlery, all these different places in the UK. We're here in New York, and we're looking outside, and it's dark, it's dreary, it's snowy, it's depressing. But May 4th, get this, ladies and gentlemen, not that far away. It's not that far away at all. We're only a little over 100 days from now. So that means you're going to get ready. You're going to go out there and support CCW and all of those platforms here, because all wrestling matters. All wrestling matters here on Sportswire Radio. CCW has been there, and I want James Barris to hear this here one more time. We have been continuing to say it. Change the name to Cutlery Community Wrestling, because this is another reason why the community is supported, because you have another great show ahead here. Coming Out Championship Wrestling returns. They return bigger, better and better than ever, because may the force be with you, because the force will be with you, and it won't be with you, I promise you, if you don't go support and go show up for this event, because it's going to be a slew of stars, that intergalactic non-binary battle royal. Again, certainly the IMF and WC, maybe they're going to take notice here, because they're going to have their own intergalactic champion. Certainly Mephisto's currently the champion. We'll see if he retains that championship, but I am so excited. May 4th is not that far away. It's right after tax season here in America, so that means, listen, all your money, your tax money, you get in the mail, go out there and send money to our friends in the UK. Make sure they can go out there and buy the show. Make sure you go out there and do whatever you can to support Taylor Troots. Taylor is awesome as always. He has done so many great things for this sport. And I think about one of our more favorite and one of our more enjoyable interviews throughout the years has always been Taylor. Everybody in CCW so happy to have Taylor back. Before I get to closing thoughts here, is there anything else, my friend, that you would like to get off your chest, or anything else you want to say about Coming Out Championship Wrestling or Fighter Strike 3 next weekend?
Well, I mean, to quote Yoda, get a ticket, you must.
That was pretty good, actually. That was pretty good.
Yeah. In all seriousness, in relation to Fighter Strike 3, again, it's going to blow the roof off. Massive stacked card. It couldn't get any more stacked if it tried. It's sold out. You'll have to catch up with stuff online after the event. If you've got a ticket, we look forward to seeing you and putting on another tremendous show. In relation to Coming Out Championship Wrestling, May the 4th, Pride Strikes Back. We'll see another fun event for you all to enjoy. All the information for that to follow. In relation to everything else that we've discussed today, and Tom, we can only, appreciate the support you've gave over the years through some difficult times, but don't count something out until you've seen it for yourself. My advice for 2024 to everybody would be, just be kind. There's far too much drama in the world if you turn on the news to then turn on Facebook to see the same walls of words.
Depressing. Oh my God. All I see on Facebook is this person and that person. And it's like, oh my goodness.
And there's no harm in keeping quiet sometimes. And there's no harm in saying to yourself, oh God, I wish that person would just get a grip. But it is what it is. And to anybody that watches this who I've been friends with for a long time will know I don't tend to take anybody's BS. Yes, hello, Peter. I don't tend to take anyone's BS. I say it as it is. And ultimately, if you don't like it, then there's two things you can do about it. And that's,
Well, I got one more question before closing. I should have asked you this earlier. How do you keep your voice going? Because I feel like at this point, I've been doing so many of these, and I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm really like getting worried now. How do you keep your voice going throughout these shows?
Well,
I know you
sometimes.
I have to ask you.
So sometimes it is a struggle, and until Ruby joined,
yes.
At the end of a show, I would be really without a voice. But I've started. Sounds ridiculous, actually, but I've started on the way to a venue. If I have the opportunity, I listen to a lot of different music and I sing along, and it kind of warms the vocal cords up a little bit. And somebody, I mean, I do drink a lot of tea anyway, but a nice cup of tea does help. But I tend to find that I get so excited in the first early matches, I blow my voice before the main event. So yeah, no, it does. It takes practice, and I think every announcer's got their own sort of style, and that's why I don't think my style would probably work any other place.
Sure.
And I have had wrestlers in the past who've said, the way you announce me, I've never heard it done that way before. And some of the most greatest announcements I've done. Tommy Diamond is a voice, a name from the past. I used to love announcing him. I honestly was one of the favorite ones. And Dagon, I get a little bit of a tingle in the back of the neck when I announce him. But no, it is, and keeping your voice going is hard. But with the assistance of Ruby and having a backup announcer to do match by match, it's absolutely a godsend, because the voice does take. I mean, even Colin does commentary sometimes, and his voice goes.
I noticed it, and I was just wondering, because like I know I've asked you before, but now I'm like really starting to feel it at this point. I have to go on later tonight, New York time. I don't even know who I'm speaking with. I don't even know what I'm speaking about, but which is kind of funny. Some people I think are going to tune in because like I don't even know anything about my guest coming on. He's a guy in Illinois who has a company I almost know nothing about. I do have Bentley tomorrow, which will be not too bad because Bentley is a short interview. Bentley usually it's like 45-minute interviews, so it's fine. Then I'm on a radio station Wednesday night, which is actually no introduction, which is just straight up like basically like doing news, which is fine. That's no problem. But I was just so fascinated about that. But thank you kind of for the advice. I'll certainly take the fourth with me and the force with that advice. I'll certainly use that for May 4th
I mean,
time. We'll have him.
hydration's good. Plenty of
Yeah,
water and stuff.
I
Carbonated drinks is actually carbonated
uh-oh.
drinks is actually really bad for announcing. And I found
Oh,
that when I was having Coca-Cola or if I was having a beer or something, it was really bad. And
oh,
I
well,
found
that's
my voice was very dry.
Well, that's certainly my middle name, and that's why I'm probably should not be drinking that. But I'm always tired every day, so that's probably why I am where I am. And I don't know if I'll be able to do as good as Taylor does for you, Champ, on Thursday. I'm going to try my best, but I'm certainly nonetheless excited to have you back on here after a 21-month delay, and I know it'll be worth it. I'm really, really excited to have you on. I'm looking forward to it. So thank you for that. But it has been an absolute honor. Like I said, please come back on Sportswire Radio
Oh,
more
absolutely.
less than a year from now. Definitely, let's not make this like every year from now we have you on. We definitely want to see you on. No, it's funny, but you know what? Dagan's 21 months. I hope Dagan doesn't decide to come back on here in 2026. I mean, I hope you don't decide to come back on here till February of 2025. But the
The
point
year
is,
2035.
oh God, maybe some people want to. I mean, just there could be people out there. Listen, Lucas Jackson was like almost 2 years old. So Lucas came on, and it was I think in September, and he hadn't come on in almost like 2 years. It was really February to September, and Dagan has now beat him by a couple of months. But I do want to give you the floor. I certainly hope to see you before May 4th. I know I definitely will for sure. I'm really looking forward to talking about the card. Anything else you want to plug, share, or say? It's been an absolute honor. I'm so happy to have you back on. I'm so happy you're doing well here with Coming Out Championship Wrestling. And I want to give you the floor. And anything else you want to plug, share, or say, my friend, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so final thing is, be kind to each other, support what everyone's doing, don't tear anybody down. I would also advise, if you don't already, follow the Coming Out Championship Wrestling page for future announcement on matches and shows upcoming. A lot of content to go out over the next few months to sort of promote that event. Already in creative overdrive at night time, trying to sleep, thinking of what would be good. And so, yeah, that happened for the last year. So you're going to get another great show. And lastly, just if you don't know about something, find out and for yourself. Ultimately, don't be a Facebook warrior. Just love life, because you only get one shot at this.
That's it.
And certainly don't waste a moment being an absolute douchebag online. Just get out there and be positive. And again, you'll not hear much of me online. I mean, I just share and post things, but yeah, absolutely. That's basically bringing it to the end. But yeah.
I could not agree with you more. I could definitely say that here on Sportswire Radio, to hell with the rest, to hell with the haters, to hell with anybody that doesn't support what Taylor Truths or anybody else is doing out there, because that's the truth. And we're going to certainly, to quote Colin, put them in detention if they continue their attitude. And we'll certainly make sure that firsthand. But you know what? Forget about them. They're irrelevant. They mean nothing. What means to us is that Sportswire Radio always works with people like CCW who make all wrestling to matter. And that's why on this day, one more time, January the 16th, 2024, on all Sports by Radio platforms, Twitter at Thomas Price 2017, Facebook at Sports by Radio, YouTube at Sports by Radio 6579, Tumblr at Sports by Radio, and also sportswireradio.org. It is now Taylor Truth's Day for all the great things that he has done on behalf of Coming Out Championship Wrestling, and he's doing a phenomenal job as our general manager. And you heard it here on Sportswire Radio. For those that are listening and watching, May the 4th is the next show for Coming Out Championship Wrestling. It's Pride Strikes Back, so certainly may the force be with you. Make sure that the 4th is with you by buying a ticket. You can go to Cutlery Championship Wrestling's Facebook page at CCW Coming Out Championship Wrestling for more information. And again, James Barris, consider changing the name to CCW Cutlery Community Wrestling. That was because CCW is always about the community, because the community here, without the community, we have nothing. It's the community that has supported CCW. It's the community that has made us here all together, all in one, and that's why all wrestling matters. So CCW to me will be known as Cutlery Community Wrestling, and I agree with you, Jam Dog. Congratulations, Taylor, and thank you so much, my friend. Congratulations on all that you've done for us. This is only the beginning with Coming Out Championship Wrestling, and I cannot wait to see what you do coming up here. And also, Hannah said Taylor. Okay, well, we ended funny at least. We ended funny.
Hi, Hannah.
That was funny. At least we ended kind of in a funny way. So on that note, hope you had some laughs. You had some seriousness. You got into some digging. You got into some fire. You got into some pride. You got into whatever else in between. But this is why we were so honored to have back onto Sportswire Radio after an over year absence, Taylor Trutz, the general manager for Coming Out Championship Wrestling, to recap their historic show that took place last weekend. They're back in the ring coming up on May the 4th. It'll be the Pride Strikes Back. So May the 4th be with you. Go out to the CCW Facebook pages, Cutlery Community Wrestling, also CCW Coming Out Championship Wrestling. Go out and support and get more ticket information on there. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling, where all wrestling matters here on Sports by Radio. If you're on sportsbyradio.org, you'll go back to Peter Gabriel's Sledgehammer music for a little while until I reprogram the dial and get you some podcasts of your choice. And until then, I'll also be here 9 o'clock Eastern Time with Richard Goods of Ransack Wrestling, which I repeat, ladies and gentlemen, I have no idea what I'm talking about, but you'll have to play along and certainly make fun with me. Hopefully you have a good time. And I'll be back here with Bentley tomorrow, 3 o'clock Eastern Time. But Prince Dagan makes his long-awaited return after a 21-month absence, 8 o'clock British Standard Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday. But until then, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, on the number one global radio station that is Sports by Radio and CC Dub, CC Dub, CC Dub, CC Dub, CC Dub, CC Dub. Had to do that one more time. Cannot wait till Thursday. Thank you, everybody. Cannot wait for more Fighter Strike coverage here on the number one global radio station that is Sports